What's up, brothers and sisters? It's your brother G World 7_D. And I'm going to do a real quick video, but I want you to pick up on things, alright? Then I'm going to tie it in. Here's the book I mentioned, and I've shown several times, G.J. Campbell Dunn, The African Origins of Classical Civilizations, alright? That means the black origins of ancient Greece, alright? But I want to focus on something real quick. I'm gonna turn to page 102. I hope you brothers and sisters really pick up on this, man. You really gotta pick up on stuff, man. Alright. Let me see right here if I can focus. If I can get right here. The wearing or parading of outsized phalloi is well established in Africa, but something similar was also known in Egypt. Here comes Herodotus. Right? The festival of Dionysus is celebrated almost exactly as Bacchic festivals are in Greece, excepting that the Egyptians have no choral dances. They also use, instead of phalli, another invention consisting of images a cubit high, pulled by strings, which the women carry round to the villages. A marionette theater was observed by Paul Solilet among the Somono of the Niger. Talbot found a type of puppet show at Awa, in southern Nigeria. Strings were regarded as means of magic. Herodotus says that the Melampus introduced the name of Bacchus and ceremonies with the followers from Egypt into Greece. The Melampus means Blackfoot, and it is possible that he was a black African. All these practices begin in Africa, from where they were transferred to Egypt and then to Greece. Now I repeat, Herodotus says that the Melampus introduced the name of Bacchus and ceremonies with the followers from Egypt into Greece. The Melampus means Blackfoot, and it is possible that he was a black African. All these practices begin in Africa, from where they were transferred to Egypt, then to Greece. All right. I kept going over there. I wanted you to pick up on certain things. All right. You had the Blackfoot Indians here in America. And I told you there was a connection between blacks in America, Asia, Africa, and Europe. Remember those pictures I showed you before? The shoes that those brothers and sisters wear, them little white little shoes. I showed you them brothers at the castles in Europe had those little white little like shoes that they was wearing. And it was fighting off the cave beasts, which is the white folks. Well, white folks didn't build no castles in Europe. That was built by all black folks. All right. So when you Negroes go there and you honor these little bastards who are basically perpetrating, running around the British castle right now, that was built by Negroes. All right. Then they show images of the Egyptians wearing them little white shoes like that, and there's image of Aboriginal people here. When I mean Aboriginal, I mean black people wearing them little white little shoes. You've seen this on certain black Cherokee chiefs and other black tribes that were here. I'm emphasizing that there's always a connection, brothers and sisters, man. You just gotta really dig deep for it. And you gotta be a critical researcher. You gotta understand words and phrases. Like my last video, I talked about how the guy was talking about Yamasi, and then the free blacks. Mainly he was talking about Aboriginal black people, who are the Yamasi, the Aboriginal, who are black people, brown-skinned people, and the free blacks, who are black Europeans, more likely. Hey, man, they play games. So they took, my last video, they took two different groups of so-called black people and made them into different races. If you the way the author was talking about, I just did a connection talking about how Greece is really a colony of Egypt, and then how the term Blackfoot was also used in America because, like I said before, there was always a trans-oceanic travel and movement of our people. All right, so Egypt is a colony of Greece. The Egyptians were unquestionably black, and they colonized what you all know is Greece. The people who living in Greece today, they nothing but a bunch of mulattoes, man, fixed mulattoes. They had nothing to do with the so-called ancient Greeks because the ancient Greeks were black. So when the ancient Greeks entered Egypt, they had nothing to do with race. There was just Negroes coming back home. All right, the original Greeks were black. They would come back home, like the Etruscans. The original Romans were black. When they was coming back home. They had different belief systems. They developed a different belief system, but they still carry some of the ancient tradition that they learned when they took from the Etruscans, took from the Greeks, who took from the Egyptians. Remember, Greek was a colony of the Egyptians. White folks had nothing to do with the ancient Greeks. Those statues are fake as hell. And they also have some fake Egyptian statues, but I'm just connecting that Greece was a colony, and the book just said that some of their practices they inherited from Egypt because it came from Egypt because the population of Greece originally came from Egypt. It was a colony of Egypt. This is why you need to study everything. This you don't leave these Negroes just tell you just a slave of Africa. You have to pick up on certain things. When the Greeks entered Egypt, when the Persians entered Egypt, when the Syrians entered Egypt, that had nothing to do with race. Those are all Negroes invading other Negroes. That's all that was. And they had different cultural practices. Lots of times the Egyptians didn't have facial hair, the Assyrians did. This had nothing to do with no race. These white folks tried to incorporate themselves in history they had nothing to do with. That's why I can't stand Henry Louis Gates. He's nothing but a freaking coon. He keeps continuing to sell out and distort our people's history. This is why critical research needs to be done. I don't listen to Dr. Greg Carr. I think he's a clown. I don't listen to Sarnetta and them because they're clowns. Them clowns don't know what the hell they talking about. Umar Johnson, Sarah Sudin. I don't listen to them, man. I do not listen to that stuff because they telling you, they just regurgitating what white folks had given. This is why you need to break stuff down. And even in the back of this gentleman's book, he had these black heads all over Europe because the people who populated all of Europe was black. Eastern Europe, Central Europe, Western Europe was originally all black. The birth of the Catholic Church comes from Negroes. So when you look at that white Pope running around looking like Osiris, they took that from the black, the original popes. All the original popes were black. So when you hear some people talking about, oh, you don't get the first black pope. No, all the original popes were black. All of them. And that's these crackers not going to tell you that. I have no respect for these people because they're nothing but lying demons. Ain't nobody jealous of their ass because all they do is steal. They envy us. They love our culture but hate us, man. Because when they see us, they know that we are walking gods and goddesses. I know a lot of you don't like that term. That's fine. But they know that. And they know who the original people were of every single continent. That's why I'm showing you these pictures and breaking stuff down. There's a picture of one of the British kings, King Otto, and his little black wife, because they were black. And then you see some pictures of some brothers, black men of the Eastern Byzantium and the Eastern Roman Empire which is black, as well as the Western one was black too. Yeah, I said it. But one picture showed this black man with a white woman because, like I said before, they start taking in these white women wives that later on start producing these mulatto children. And after that constant mixture over time, this is what you have today. That's why them Greeks look like the mulattoes that they do. That's why a lot of those Italians look like the mulattoes that they do. That's why many of those Spaniards look like the mulattoes that they do. You know, they categorize themselves as white. A lot of those Spaniards, you can tell nothing but mulattoes, deep-rooted mulattoes, as well as Italians, like I said, as well as those Greeks, like I said. And them Eastern Europeans look different because a lot of them, the Negro strain is a little bit more, even more recent in there, going back to the 1800s, man. Hell, after that, into the early 1900s. I'm telling you this, man. Observe, look at some of their physical features, and you can tell. We've been duped, all right, when it comes to our history. I don't even pay no attention to people like Oprah Winfrey, the 1619 Project. That's trash. Anyone, and I keep saying this, anyone who continues to say that your history started being brought over here as slaves, and most of our people came over here as slaves, and they still talking about breeding farms for the black people here, when the majority of people are already here, but the reason that our numbers are here because of breeding farms, anyone who tells you that need to be tarred and feathered. They're a sellout. And they don't know what the hell they talking about. So that's my message, man. I want you to pick up on certain little things when you do your research. Do not listen to these boule Negroes online. Like I said, I grew up around the boule. I grew up around, I went to Harvard, and I went to Morehouse, and I'm part of this fraternity, and I do all this. And I grew up around them, and I went to school with that. All right? I never was impressed with that stuff. I thank my father for that, too. I thank my father for that. Except for my uncles. But, brothers and sisters, I want to tell you this, man. Continue doing the right thing. Continue to do your research. Like I said, if you cannot afford to buy the books, go to the library and do your research. Most of the stuff they give you some fake ass information, then you can there's a pot of gold right there in the middle that you can pull out. All right? So that's my message for today. And most of these books I'm showing you are written by quote Afrocentric scholars. And even if I did get a black scholar, so what? Get out yourself hate. But a lot of Negroes don't want to hear nothing from a black man. But if you present a white man, or they listen to you. But then even with most of these white scholars, you really have to break stuff down. There's only a few that really come out and say, hey man, all these people are black. All them people black. And they had the technology to build boats, build small little boats, and build big ships, large ships to sail the seas, sail around the world, man. I'm repeating that over and over again. I'm going to continue to repeat that over and over again. Our people weren't no situated in no goddamn West Africa, man. Our people sailed around the world, traveled around the world. And it's frustrating that this information there, you still got Negroes pushing this stuff online, man. Pushing stuff that you were just slaves from Africa. Constantly saying that mess over and over again. You're sounding stupid. You really are. I know that you sound stupid. You may sound educated to other people, but I know you're just a stupid ass when you do that. I'm not talking to you brothers and sisters who listen to me here, but a lot of these Negroes who doing that. And you brothers and sisters know when you're listening, you know those some jackasses who they're trying to pull your leg, telling you some nonsense when you already done your research and that your people are already here. It's it is it 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 does anger me that some of our people refuse to hear our true history. And the main point I pull from it, and I said this over and over, that these Negroes don't want to upset white daddy and mommy. They want to continue to have their little sexual access or their so-called sexual freedom. To them, being free is being able to lay necks down to some white man or white woman and to procreate them with them white man or white woman or someone else to annihilate their lineage off this planet. Annihilate their dark skin or their beautiful melanated skin off this planet because they have that much self-hate of themselves. Like I said before, man, when you start procreating outside of your own, you start diluting yourself. Many people don't want to hear that. You're going to hear it from me. You dilute yourself. If you really love what you see in the mirror, you want to reproduce what you see in the mirror. That hair, that lips, that great copper colored skin, chocolate skin. You dilute that when you start going with these other groups. And I'm telling you that now. That's why you see those people in Southern Europe look the way they do today, because they're the off-breed of mixing. You're going to annihilate yourself if you keep doing it. That's why I'm telling you, these other groups take your history. Then you get jackasses like Zahed Hawass. The Egyptians went black. The Egyptians were just Egyptian. Whatever, that jackass. That mixed breed Turk. You get that. Peace and love, brothers and sisters.